Do you suffer from debilitating migraines? You know, that throbbing pain in the front or side of your head that's so severe you're unable to work or do anything other than retreat into a dark and quiet room? Have you had them for years and just haven't found a solution? Call Dr. Elizabeth Ebersol and put an end to your debilitating migraines forever. Or go to her website at www.handmadehealth.com. That's www.handmadehealth.com.
Hello, everybody. Kenny Matthews, Billy Martin Jr., episode number 9 of Balls to the Wall. We appreciate you guys listening to us every week. As we're taping here on Wednesday night, as the weather is coming in the DF Dub here, and boy, so if the lights go out here, I apologize in advance, but hopefully we can squeeze this in before the electricity goes out. Billy, how are you doing? Great week. What a sports week. Wow.
I had to wear black for Mr. Gruden today because I know we're planning to talk about that. And let's just start because
yes,
there's a statute of limitations of 7 years on committing a crime, on felonies, on punching old ladies in the face. You can get away with that 7 years later, but yet you can't be a jackass on email.
Yeah.
And it's email. It's not like it was something published worldwide.
Right.
I'm sorry. And I didn't read the emails. I heard what was said, and it's obviously inappropriate and stupid, but come on, we are all morons at times. And to hold us accountable for something we did that many years ago, to me, it's just asinine.
You know, I was sitting here thinking about this before. I said some really asinine things 11 years ago too. It's just that nobody gives a flying F about me, so it's not made public. But I mean, it's just, obviously we don't condone what he said, obviously, in this super liberal world that we seem to be living in now. But it's just that the statute of limitations on some things, and you got people just going back trying to find dirt on public people now, or people that, are on TV or whatever. The witch hunt needs to be over to me, especially on stuff that's way happened out of the path. That man's done more good than he's done bad. So why are we tarnishing his career late now because of it? And here, I'm an African American. Yes, I wasn't totally offended by what he said in there about the lips. I just don't understand why we're always on such edge about everything. We have to draw a hard stance on everything now. It just, there's a gray area sometimes. Sometimes you let things just kind of roll over. But is this really something that we really need to bring out in public and tarnish a man that's given his world and life to the National Football League, where it's a better league because he was a part of it?
All right. I was lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to spend a little time with him and found him to be one of those guys that you felt like you knew him after 3 minutes of conversation.
Right.
He's so engaging. He's locking your eyes, and I'm sorry, I don't believe he's a racist. How could you be an NFL coach and be a racist, right?
We saw this football players standing up for him, the black players.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They stood up and defended him, said that he's great, blah, blah, going on. So if it's good for the guys that are around him 24/7, why is it not good for the rest of us? Don't know.
Well, look at our society. So we're okay with forgiving criminals after 7 years. We're okay with letting criminals from other countries walk right into our country and we hand them money. Come on over. It's okay that you killed people. It's okay that you did this and that. We're going to give you money. But if you're a celebrity and you said something 12 years ago that was not proper, goodbye, your life is ruined.
Can't cast that stone, because boy, there's some things we said just 7 minutes ago that we might regret, you know.
That's right, my friend. Absolutely.
Just can't cast a stone. And I feel horrible for anybody that's caught in that fishbowl now, that you've got people going back looking through your Twitter from 8, 9, 10 years ago to see what you may have retweeted or done just to try to bring you down. And I don't understand the intent, and where's the reward? I mean, even if you disclose something that somebody did, what's the reward? Is somebody patting you on the back or saying, great job that you did this? I don't know. I don't know how it justifies the means. You know, I mean, if there's something that's really egregious, I understand that. You know, I mean, if you've got somebody that's got a swastika flag in their room 10 years ago, okay. That's something to me that's more, you know, relevant than something you may have said. And obviously he was upset, you know, when he said it too. So how many times have we said things that we want him back because we were upset, you know? So, you know, it's just, I feel horrible for him. And you can tell that Al Davis Jr., he didn't want to fire him because that statement he tried to say, so I mean, you knew his hands were forced. Let's say that. Al Davis Jr. was not going to fire Gruden over those comments. He wasn't. And if you hear
Gruden, that would have made this.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing that would have made this a little funnier is had he been the coach of the Washington football team, or the Cleveland Guardians, or any of these other, moronic actions. How could somebody be offended by a team name? Do you name a team after something you loathe, after something you don't like? No, you name a team after something you want to cheer for. You don't want to cheer for the jackasses. You don't want to cheer for the stupid bitches. Yeah, come on, you stupid bitches.
No doubt.
So, where is the offense in all this stuff? And who read those emails?
Yeah.
Who on the planet knows that he had that moment?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had an adult beverage before he did that. Oh my gosh.
I'm thinking he did. I'm thinking it's absolutely, because it was full of spite. I mean, he was mad. He was hot under the collar. There's no question. So, the little bottle of scotch was probably sitting right next to her as he was typing that thing out. Sure. Now, does that justify it? No, it doesn't.
No.
But it just seems like we have really made this into a huge newsworthy thing. And I don't think it really was near as much as it's been sensationalized. And I just don't find the remarks near as harsh as people are trying to put into their narrative on this. I just don't see it that way. I really don't.
Well, look at this. On a podcast, there's always that little voice in the back of your brain saying, oh, don't go there. Be careful what you say here or there. Think about this. At the time, he was a television
analyst. Yeah.
Analyst, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe he felt like email time was, when I could let it go. I could say whatever I want to my friend, who obviously ratted him out years later.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
How about that? Let's talk about that. So if you tell me something about some moron we don't like in an email,
right?
And 12 years from now, I get mad at Kenny because, he made me buy the beers when we were at the bar, and I'm I'm putting those emails out and letting everybody know that you made fun of old so and so.
Right.
Well, what's that all about?
For coercion? I mean, what is it? I mean, it's blackmail material at that point in time. And isn't that a felony too? I mean, why is the whistleblower?
I don't know. You know what?
Retribution. Why is the whistleblower patted on the back as opposed to, you should have kept this private? It was an email between you two people. Why did you feel that this should have been public domain all of a sudden? Because you want spotlight for a period of time? I mean, it seems like that people are willing to get rid of core values for just a little spotlight time now. And it's like the camera people are taking camera fights. Whatever happened to the days of trying to stop the fight, breaking it up? No, let's make sure we get the whole fight on our camera now. So maybe he's gonna give me some money. I mean, you would see fist fights and you would say, all right, that's enough. You go break it up. No, there's nobody in there being peacemaker anymore. I just think that people want to be famous for the wrong reasons now, and we've glamorized that too. Nothing against TMZ. They're a great newsworthy organization, but it has tainted the way we do things now. Everybody wants to be a professional camera person now, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And here's another person that goes down. How many more people are going to go down in the public eye now till we finally get sick and tired of wanting to see that? But there's a groundswell of people that want to see people in high places go down, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
I don't either, because at the end of the day, it makes the average Joe's life a little better.
Hey, what would your dad have been with Twitter and these phones?
I mean,
God bless his soul.
No, think about, he said things to the news, to the reporters in New York that he knew was going to be public. There's no telling what he'd put on Twitter. He got, one of the times he got fired from the Yankees, he was referring to George and Reggie, who were kind of colluding against him at the time, and
love this line.
And he said, one's a born liar and one's convicted, and which is
great.
Well, the convicted part is true, and it's like there's no telling what my father would have tweeted. And
gosh, it'd have been, or just this, his storming, getting kicked out of a game, and now in this Twitter world with everybody with their, their phones, and just seeing him go, tear up a locker room or his office, it had been plastered on Twitter, a fax machine here, whatever. He would have been ideal, but I think your dad, though, probably about 5 minutes into Twitter would have said, I've had enough.
Well, I'll tell you, talk about, and that's just funny because there are stories people have no idea about. There was a time when Mickey Rivers loved to bet the dogs. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And
asked for advances on his salary from time to time to bet the ponies.
Absolutely. And dad would advance him out of his own pocket sometimes, right? And he loved Mick. But one game he's looking at, Mickey's supposed to be on deck in the on deck circle, and he's not there. So dad runs up the tunnel, and Mickey's on the payphone making bets, right? And my father screams at him, "You're on deck!" Mickey takes off, runs down the tunnel. Dad takes a bat and beats the payphone off the wall. And that said, he absolutely loved Mickey and Mickey loved him. But that's there was no more payphone there.
There's some legendary stories between Mick, Greg Nettles, Lou Piniella at the Greyhound tracks back in the day. Yes, there is. And Sparky Lyle too. Yeah, there's a few legendary stories for another pod. But we do appreciate you guys listening to us. Please subscribe to us at Rumble, also at Twitter and at YouTube, especially YouTube. Subscribe to us there. Just sign up the name there so we can keep bringing you some good material that we hope you guys are enjoying. And we do appreciate your comments and suggestions that you can also leave there. We appreciate it. Either good or bad, let us know. We got some thin skin, so we'll try to take care of it. And if there's something we don't deem worthy anymore, we'll cut it out of this thing. That's for sure. But hey, you and I, our pastime is the national pastime is Major League Baseball. We had our predictions here last week. We almost had that epic Dodger losing in a wild card game last week against St. Louis. St. Louis goes 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That's going to be one that's going to be haunt them for a very long time. But here we go. We've got two teams now that have won 109 games apiece now, I believe. If I'm thinking right, the Dodgers and the Giants, and they'll have an elimination game tomorrow out at San Francisco. And man, I can't wait. Even though I'm going to be covering the game, I will be watching on my phone steadily tomorrow. But man, oh man, we got some drama tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we've talked about these two teams, the two best teams in baseball, but the whole world expected the Dodgers to be that. Nobody expected the Giants to be the best team in baseball. And like we've talked about before, if you break these teams down, other than Chris Bryant, there's not a single Giant that I pick over the Dodgers. But why do they have this magic feeling, Kenny? Why does it feel to me like the Giants are going to go win the World Series because they have this mojo, they have this special magic for some reason?
Feels like 2010 year to me. Bunch of guys that were, probably at the tail end of their careers, started to put up some career years, making big knocks. You had the Panda Bear coming on then at that point in time, and Buzz Posey coming on at that time. But, you had a lot of veterans on that team, and it just has that feel. And if you get anything that Mr. Wood pitched on game 1 against the Dodgers tomorrow night, it is lights out because he was outstanding in game 1 for the Giants. Now you're going up against Urias. I mean, there's no slouch there at all. They're loaded. We've gone in nausea about their pitching staff there. But I wanted to refer back to that Monday night game. I mean, the huge at bat by Evan Longoria, the 33-year-old.
Wow.
I keep thinking about him being as a Ray, but he's been the Giants for now, several years now. Opposite, right center field. If you would have told me that was the only run that had been scored in that game, I would have lost a lot of money in Vegas, because you just don't see 1-0 games anymore in the playoffs. You just don't, because you're bringing in bullpen guy after bullpen guy, and somebody generally gives up a mistake. But what about that at bat with Mookie Betts with a man on first and second base, in the 8th inning? And I mean, Mookie fouls off a couple pitches and hits an absolute rocket at Mr. Crawford. He steps up on 3 step ladders to get that ball. And I said, that's what I put out to do. I love fall baseball. I said, that's the reason why Mookie Betts did exactly what he's paid $300 million to do. Mm-hmm. And Crawford just absolutely made a more athletic play at that time to seal the victory for the Giants. What drama it was. Theater at his best.
No, it is. It's the crazy part about baseball that you can throw the perfect pitch and it can still get hit out of the ballpark. You can rip a rocket, but look at this play this guy makes, or it's right at somebody. There are just certain things about the game that make it just like life, the way our world is, the things we're complaining about earlier, or what. Life is weird, and so is baseball at times, and it's so exciting, and it's just so nice to see stadiums full of people while we're seeing this great baseball.
And the temperature actually not being 95 degrees. That's another thing. I do want to say one thing on a side note here. But I have no idea why why Chicago White Sox would do anything to stir the Astros pot up But the blast them saying that they still think they're cheating in their yard, I said, we talked about this so many times. The Astros are motivated when we talk trash about them. It's a veteran club now. That has got to be the most moronic thing to do when you're down 2-1. You're not up 2-1. And you are in your backyard giving up runs. Just don't.
I heard trash can lids. I know I heard trash can lids. Come on.
Why poke
Really?
the Dusty Baker Bear? Why? I just don't understand it. We said it before in the summer. We said when Astros get to the playoffs, they're gonna be a tough out. You don't need to refocus this bunch. They're already focused anyway. And Correa is Correa in the fall. I mean, he's a 280 hitter during the regular season, but he's got to be hitting mid 350s when it's come fall. I mean, that guy comes up with big hits left and right. And I mean, wow. You want to talk about a series now with the Red Sox, with the big upset over the Rays? I know one thing. I know the TV networks are happy that it's the Red Sox and the Astros. I know they're happy about that. And I know they're happy about having a full stadium in both places too. An iconic one and in Minute Maid.
Well, and to extenuate your point a little bit. So if you're playing the Astros, might you not have private investigators, spies, people watching everything if you're really concerned that that's going on? I mean, especially at your park, but I don't care. I'd be doing it everywhere. If I had a concern that could be happening, I'm watching them like a hawk. And you're going to tell me they weren't. If they said that, they should have been doing that and taking care of business themselves. But come on, you don't think the Astros want to win this straight and clean so badly to show the whole rest of the world, hey,
absolutely.
Hey, yeah, were we trying to get a little help? Yes, we're still pretty damn good because at the end of the day, you know, I played the game a little bit, and a pitcher can tell you, hey, I'm throwing a slider. Still doesn't mean you can hit it. Still doesn't mean it's going to be in the zone. It still doesn't mean
you hit it on the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's just whatever they want to say. That's a great team, and you know, I'm looking forward to watching this next round. And I do just keep listening for those trash can lids.
I think the Astros are going to come out with the Bad News Bears, bail bondsman shirts and to pull a Tanner at the end of the game and tell them where they're sticking. That's what they want to do. I really do. Yeah, so if I'm the Red Sox pitching staff, one heed this advice: shut your pie hole up about if there's any trash cans or not. Just go out and try to miss bats. That's all you need to try to do is miss bats and let the winds talk instead of the mouth talking, especially you middle relievers. You know, you really don't need to be shy. I just don't get it.
All you have to do is change your signs every inning. You know, you could change them every hitter. I mean, there's
make them uncomfortable in the box with some inside pitches. You know, that's one way of doing it. You know, that's one way of doing it.
Chin music. Woo!
I said, Altuve got a little bit of that yesterday. You know, I said the other day, I said, yeah. I said, you're leaning over the plate trying to hit that slider. Hey, rub one off about 2-3 inches off the inside part of the plate. They won't be diving over that ball, though, diving over the plate any longer.
No, they won't.
No. Hey, we do appreciate you guys listening to us. We'll go to the next topic. We do want to talk about a little bit of the crazy football weekend that we've had this past week. I don't know about you, Billy. I thought that was one of the better weekends that we've had in college football in a long time. We had some serious comebacks left and right. Obviously, OU had the big comeback against Texas, down 21 points. But let's end the night with the supreme game of the night. I mean, is there a much better setting than Cal Field at night with all the traditions that come in? And then not only that, you bring Nick Saban in town, the #1 ranked team in the country, the vaunted villain that everybody wants to try to knock down, the Goliath of football, college football for the last 12 years. And what an epic atmosphere and what an epic football game it turned out to be.
Oh, I had several friends there, and even to roll back the clock a little further, if anybody saw the movie or read the book is outstanding, The Junction Boys. You know, Bear Bryant coached at Texas A&M before he got to Alabama.
Yeah.
And the Texas A&M was a joke. All right. And the only reason he took that job is because he got angry with the people at Kentucky,
yes,
who told him that if he got the football program close to where Adolph Rupp, probably couldn't even coach a team now with a name like Adolph. But
no.
anyways, I'm just saying. But
I would like to see Adolph's Twitter account.
oh, no kidding. Don't read his emails. Anyway, Adolph was one of the best college coaches of that time, that generation, and
All time.
yeah, maybe, yeah, you're probably right. You know, and they told Bear, you get the football program there, we'll pay you like we're paying Adolph. Well, he gets him to a bowl game. He doesn't get a raise, so he gets angry and quits. He quits at the worst time possible. He ends up at Texas A&M when it's an all-boys military academy, and turns that mess into a winner, and goes from there to Alabama. But the beauty of that is Texas A&M football was then a respected tradition from that moment on. And how ironic that that's the team that ends up knocking #1 down this year. I talked to a kid I know. I've known him since he was born. And he was crying. He was so excited, running around the field like a moron.
Yeah, one of our Friday Night Glory interns, Lauren Moore, was there, and she took a lot of pictures on the field, laying on the field. She's a junior. I mean, my daughter graduated last May. I wish it would have been a year later now, so she could have been a part of that environment. But to tell you the truth, what happened when the quarterback went into that booth, and he needed help to get in there, and he gets out of the booth and he looks like Jesse Owens running back on the field. And I was like, I need some of that magic potion for my knees and hips sometimes. As I said, he came in and he looked great on that last drive. It's a perfect TD pass. I mean, he looked great. Now he got the pass interference call there at the end that got him down to the 15-yard line. But still, anyway, you look at it, the atmosphere, the Aggies get a lot of hate because they said that they think that they're better than they actually are. There's one thing that they're really great at that nobody can really match, and that's that crowd atmosphere at Cal Field. That's almost unparalleled. I mean, maybe the Swamp gets as loud as that place does, but with just all the traditions that it goes on in that Cal Field, and nobody's sitting down for a 4-hour game.
Why do they even have seats in that place? I think they can fit a bunch more people.
If you didn't have seats, you could get probably 150K in there.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, they can't sit down, so.
And I have to give the College Station football a little bit of props. I thought that there would be several fires. You didn't go West Virginia on us, so I do appreciate that. It seemed like it was reasonably calm as a college town could be after a huge win like that. And it's the first time that one of Nick Saban's ex have ever beat him on the football field as a head coach. And that's unreal to me because, Nick Saban's got a lot of head coaches that are running around in college level. And he is the very first, Jimbo Fisher, on that LSU staff, the first, when Nick Saban took the LSU job back in I believe it was the mid-2000s.
Well, and think about what you just said there, too. I mean, if anybody should know what Nick Saban's might do next, would be one of his former coaches. And for none of them to be able to do it until now shows you really how much is going on in Nick's mind.
And I always tell people before, it was funny on this, some Alabama friends of mine I saw on Sunday, and they said, well, yeah, your national championship was last night. Ours will be sometime in January. And, it's kind of funny that a Bama team has to have 3 turnovers, and you still barely have to beat them in that environment at home. It's just, to me, it talks more about the machine in Tuscaloosa to me than it actually is the A&M actually beating them. I mean, we're talking about, we're talking about the 27 Yankees all the time. This has gone on in a day where, like you said, the transfer portals and people not come in and the parity that's in college football now. There's one mainstay every year. It's
every
Bama.
year.
It's Bama, and that's the litmus test every year. And so, you don't need to cry for Bama. They'll probably win out, beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, and they'll be one of the Final Four come January, like they always are. But at least for 4.5 hours on last Saturday, Goliath was slayed by the Aggies, and that's a huge win for Jimbo Fisher, no question.
Oh, think about it. Aggies, they couldn't have been. Not only did that happen, but UT lost to OU in the same weekend. So they're like, they're like Bobby Boucher's coach grabbing his nipples, going, "Oh yeah, this was so great."
Yeah, I told somebody before, they were saying, well, hey, UT was saying, hey, we'll see you in the Big 12 championship game. I go, it's the second week of October, and has this NCAA football season been chalk yet? No. I said, you've got multiple losses against a lot of big dogs out there. What makes you think that Oklahoma and UT are going to win out to have this rematch again in the Big 12? There's nothing that tells me that that's going to happen. Nothing. Because I said, you need to worry from week to week, because that's the biggest thing now. Because it's just that much of a difference between winning and losing in college football now.
And, is it parity? Maybe. Is it COVID and the lack of regularity and stuff that happened the last year and a half? I think it's probably more that, to be honest, than anything, because everything has changed since this. Some of the restaurants you used to go to that were amazing, they're not as good anymore. There's just so many things have changed. Well, I guarantee you, some of these guys weren't doing their workouts the way they were supposed to when they were quarantined. And things happen, things change. But you know what? It's been a great year sports-wise so far, and I'm looking forward for it to all wind down.
And the best thing about it is you don't have anybody trying to ruin anybody with some, it seems like college football on a Saturday is about as pure as it can get just on that Saturday. The atmosphere and everything that goes with it, and with the pack stands that you alluded to earlier, which is huge to me. You brought back some of that theater back into stadiums. It's not 10,000 or 20,000 people in there. And you've got fans that are starved because they weren't there last year. When I went to the OU the OU game, Nebraska game, people there had not been in that stadium for 2 years. So they were ready to tailgate. They were ready to go. They were bringing their flask into the stadium. That was going to be a big deal to them, because for 700 days they couldn't do that. They just couldn't. And I said, so it's just nice that part of it's getting back to normal, at least. And it's nice that we got rewarded with great games. We didn't even speak about a couple of the other games, but Notre Dame coming from behind the win. North Carolina may be the biggest disappointment this year. They let Florida State come in there and put a whooping on them last week. The Michigan Nebraska game at the same time.
Wow, yeah.
It was just, I looked up and I said, yes, my Sooners did win. Yes, I was happy about that. But when I looked at the whole scale of what that day was last Saturday, I said, We started it off with a great come from behind, and we ended it off in probably the most epic game that Kyle fielded in a long time, and it was rewarding. It was really rewarding, and I'm glad the sports is back. As you said about baseball, we got the atmosphere back.
Yes, absolutely. And pretty interesting NFL week. I mean, am I
Cowboys
crazy?
roll again, like always. It seems like they're just taking names. They played a horrible first half, but then they said, all right, well, stop toying with these guys and let's put them away. And they did. The Monday night game was a great comeback by Baltimore Ravens against the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, that game is over, you think. I mean, how many times you get 2 TDs and 2 2-point conversions in a game? Really normally doesn't happen in an NFL game, to say the least. It just doesn't. I mean, you look at the San Diego Chargers and the Cleveland Brown game. I mean, that was entertaining. You're talking about that Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I don't have outs, but I wasn't totally buying in. It just seemed like there was too much hype for a guy that said, a few games, but oh my gosh.
That's
wow.
That's a dude, man. I don't like to say that somebody's gonna be in Canton after maybe 21 starts his NFL career, but boy, he shows me nothing right now that says he's not gonna be there in about 20 years, man. That guy can sling.
Compare him. Let's think about this, and anybody listening, please send us your thoughts on this. But what rookie quarterback does he remind you of? Because I'm having a hard time with that one, and he looks like a veteran to me. I mean, it's really impressive the way he handles himself.
He just doesn't seem like it. The moment doesn't seem too big where his head's got to be just going a million miles, at a time. The new playbook, the way the NFL game is so quick, the way that the defenses are in NFL compared to college and all that. He's got to be racing, but once the snap is there, it's almost Joe Montana-esque in the pocket, the way he just kind of sits there and overlooks things. I'm not calling him Joe Montana by any chance. I'm just saying his presence in the pocket looks a little bit that. Yeah. And he's kind of built like Joe Montana a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Runs a little better, though.
Oh, yeah. He runs a lot better than Joe. Yeah. I think Joe would probably say that, too.
Well, and his arm's freaking strong, too, man.
Well, I can remember Joe Montana running the ball pretty decent against the University of Houston in a Cotton Bowl game up here about a few years back on the ice. But maybe he was running for his life. That's a little bit different at the time. But yeah, I mean, you had a great NFL weekend that topped all that on. I thought sometimes I get footballed out if I watch all day on a Saturday, but I found myself not being footballed out this past Sunday, and we had a couple of free, good football games to help that, and it was spread out there today too, so that was great. But yes, I do know one thing: I'm going to be locked in tomorrow night as we've got one of the greatest rivalries again. Win or go home. Win and move on. Loser goes home, and I mean it's going to be great. I just can't wait. It doesn't get much better than Giants Dodgers in the first place. And now we get an elimination game on top of that. And you're going to be facing a rested, we've talked about this before, Braves team. Who thought the Braves would be at this point in July of this year? Who thought here?
I thought they had a chance. And there's a couple reasons why. Alex Anthopoulos is a junkyard dog when it comes to his work ethic, man. He is all over it. I mean, if you have a free agent as an agent in this game, he might call or text you 7 or 8 times a day. Okay? And then you look at the people he's got that he took with him from Toronto, people like Dana Brown, who kind of a super utility front office guy, very involved in the draft, very involved in trades.
And those trades they made at the deadline was just absolute home runs.
Right.
Home runs.
And they just make so many good moves.
I mean, Osuna's been out. But Osuna went out in June. All right, maybe late May, June. Osuna goes out with the torn ACL. That team was floundering 3 or 4 games under 500. Remember, they could never get to 500. They'd get a game up, lose. They'd be 2 games or 3 games below. And I mean, after that, they took off. And then you can't give enough praise to the way Fried's pitched. I mean, he pitched great the other. For the love of me, why did they take him out after 71 pitches again?
All right, don't get me started on any of that stuff. Think about this though. Max Fried was on the same high school baseball team with Lucas Giolito, playing for the White Sox in the postseason, and Jack Flaherty, playing for St. Louis in the postseason.
Wow.
How did that team lose a game? I mean, how do you get 3 aces?
Aces.
Not 3 major leaguers, 3 major league aces on the same high school team. That's just nuts.
There wasn't enough innings for those guys to pitch for all 3 of them in high school, is there?
Right?
Oh my gosh, that's a sick abundance of riches there. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There's another guy on the Braves I'm cheering for. His name's Tyler Matzik.
Yep.
Okay. Such a cool story. First round pick by the Rockies. Gets to the big leagues and gets the yips.
Yep.
All of a sudden has no idea where his fastball's going. Gets released. Signs with the Texas Air Hogs in the Independent American Association.
Who was there?
I happen to be the guy that signed him. and he says to me, Billy, he was so honest. And this is what I love about it. I'm a mess. Give me your word you're going to stick by me. I'll sign with you. But just tell me you'll stick by me because I got to figure this out in games. I can't figure it out in bullpens. We give him our word. He was a mess. We stick by him. Diamondbacks sign him. He doesn't make it through spring training. Comes back to us the next year. And our pitching coach makes a slight pitch adjustment and looks at his old video and sees it. He dropped his slot down to about here, from here when he was really going good in the big leagues. And they get together, they work on it. He goes crazy. He strikes out 13 in a row as our closer. That's over several outings. Okay, so I called Dana Brown. This was maybe there. I called Dana Brown with Atlanta, and we're old friends, right? And of course, he's rolling his eyes when he's hearing indie ball guy. And I said, Dana, have I ever called you about an indie ball guy before? Ever? And he goes, Billy, that's a good point. I'll have somebody out to see him tomorrow. And he sent some guys to see him in Kansas City. And lo and behold, they signed him a few days later. That's who got the big win the other night.
Yeah.
And he has a 0 ERA in the postseason so far. And
where's your residual check at? Did they
know
mail it to you yet?
No, but you know what I got from him last night? I got a text from him. Thank you, Billy. Thank you. You made this happen. I started laughing. I'm like, no, I just might have made it happen a little quicker, but you made it, Tyler.
It's always nice when you stick your neck out though and say something and it actually comes to fruition. I mean, that's huge. I mean, especially for a guy that had it obviously a MLB arm and went through some problems there for a period of time, but then once he got back there, he's taking full advantage of his second term around there, that's for sure. And he's knocking on the door to be pitching in the biggest spotlight that Major League Baseball has, the World Series. I mean, that's unreal. It's a great story. You know, it's a great story.
And I was telling one of my class about it the other day. And I think why it's worked out so well is because he was honest with himself. You know, because that's the only person you can't lie to is yourself, right? And so, you know, I think most guys try to act like it's not happening. Try to convince themselves, no, I'm not nervous right now. And the honest guy says,
everything else, you start pointing the finger at everything else but yourself.
yep. And that's why I'm cheering for Tyler Matzik till his career's over, and good for him. And I'd love to see him win a few more games because he deserves it.
It's good stuff. Well, hey guys, we do appreciate you listening to us on episode 9 of Balls to the Wall. Appreciate if you subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble and Twitter and Facebook. All the shoot match. Visit our sites over here. Like we said, we're open for suggestions, comments, anything that you can bring to any value to this ragtag unit that we have going here. We enjoy doing this once a week for you guys. It's a lot of fun. Billy, I appreciate you and hope you have a wonderful week. Glad that grass got cut before the rain got here. We will see you guys next week on Balls of the Wall, episode number 10. We'll be double digits next week, Billy. Can you believe it?
No, I can't.